For starters, I will work with the public to make them aware of all the activity at City Hall. I will work to provide public disclosure and open data, and this will increase accountability. I will look at the idea of the reduction of development charges to a reasonable level agreed on by developers and the city. I will work to eliminate councillor-controlled slush funds. I will request that the city set performance targets and request realistic results from our staff, and these should be measured with performance assessments. I will also entertain the idea of rewarding city staff and managers for finding savings. I will also work with staff to promote the greater Sudbury better, the market for greater Sudbury better. We will entertain the idea of offering vacant industrial and commercial lands at $1 an acre and reduce property taxes for the first fiscal year while a new company builds. We must also look at getting a better warranty on work that we receive from contractors for services and work. Thank you. Next,
We have seen in the past where a contract was awarded and the project seemed to have been done as per required. But unfortunately, contractors have forgotten to change pipes, cables, types of aggregate, and so on. He then comes back and repairs the error, and so on, which comes back to our costs. Another example, we have inspectors that work for the city. Yeah. They find out deficiency, let's say like we've heard so far, asphalt. Okay. The contractor should be forced to guarantee his work and the products he uses for a minimum of 5 years. In this fashion, we would get the best bang for our buck. Another example is, why did the city prepare a bid for animal control and housing to perfectly fit a particular firm? And now we're looking at spending twice plus the amount for the same service that was rendered last year. Something is wrong with such a department that opens up such bids. We have to start thinking city-wise like we do with our pockets at home. You just don't blow money because it's easy come, easy go. I work hard for my dollars, and the city should do exactly the same thing. Save our dollars. They are the people that administer our dollars. And really, look at what's been happening. The town almost looks as if we've got kids running the city. No, I'm proud of my city, and I want you to be proud of it too. Thank you.
If we're going to be trying to get more value for our tax dollar, it basically means we want to provide the current level of services for less cost. So the simple answer seems to be cut the costs and find efficiencies to provide the same level of services. But we know that the reality has been that we've been cutting the services in order to keep the tax dollars the same, and that means that the value of our tax dollar has been decreasing. So we have to reverse that process. And I think one of the things we have to do as councillors is force staff to cut costs without reducing the services. It has to be a whole new approach. You don't go in and cut services so you keep the costs the same. You have to cut the costs somehow. I think we also have to find ways of combining services and initiatives so that the net cost is lower. So we can merge services so that the cost is going to be lower combined, then we can get more tax value per dollar. I think we have to also find efficiencies and eliminate unnecessary staff positions during the next 4 years. I'm not talking about layoffs, I'm talking about attrition. There are a number of positions at City Hall that we don't need, and we have to start cutting those over a 4-year period so we get more revenue freed up to provide those services. And I think for the next 4 years we should look at a plan where we have No new initiatives unless they come from new tax dollars or new sources of revenue. And finally, we need to find ways of producing new revenue and new financing to enhance the services. And I think if we do all of that, we can accomplish that goal of increasing the value of our tax dollar quickly within the first year.
Well, what you're going to hear from me tonight quite often is implement the recommendations that came from the auditor's report. There were a lot of good recommendations in there, and I think if I'm elected to the new council, that's one thing I would be pushing, is to look at some of these savings that the auditor had mentioned. Now, what I've heard from talking to the citizens of Ward 5 and other places as well, is, one of the biggest complaints they have is maintenance of the roads and the repairs of the roads. Well, as far as I know, what we've heard is that the repairs are not sufficient enough. They don't last long enough. So what I was told recently is that one of the things that would be a very economical way for the city to save on road repairs is use recycled asphalt. And apparently recycled is, like everything else, is cheaper than a lot of ways, and some savings could be made. And apparently this recycled asphalt is more flexible during the colder weather, so which would mean less repairs, and it'll last longer. But what I would encourage is that we review all the programs that are out there right now, and try and find and reduce the duplication that's going on. We have all kinds of inspectors that are out there, and we've also heard that sometimes there aren't enough inspectors, and that's why certain jobs or certain tasks are delayed. So again, sometimes meaning reassigning the inspectors. But the other thing we've heard about is a transit system. What I had said a while back was that in order to improve on the transit system, that maybe we should be looking at hubs outside the greater suburb in which people would meet and be collected there to be brought to their regular workplaces. Thank you.
I'm glad Richard brought up the auditor's report recommendations. We've had the person hired to do a job. He's done his job. He's made recommendations, and like the provincial reports that are given to the provincial government, they just fall on deaf ears and they aren't implemented. Well, either they did a good job and they have good recommendations, or they didn't, and why do we continue to employ the individual? I think that we need to implement not only the auditor's report, but the operational plan as well. The operational plan was developed through consultation, extensive consultation with the citizens of Greater Sudbury, and it seems to be collecting a lot of dust on the shelf. That is the go-to plan. That should be the long-range plan. That's the one we should be following, so we don't have Band-Aid solutions year after year after year. Implement the operational plan. Another thing we have to look at is not only the level of services, but are we getting them for the most efficient price? The one thing that sticks in my mind, and sticks out very, very obviously, is the decision to fire the provincial ombudsman and hire a private firm. The provincial ombudsman's been there since 1975, the office, and the particular one that was there was hired in 2005, or appointed in 2005. He's known internationally and actually served as a vice president of his organization from 2006 to 2012. So I would suggest that that ombudsman knows his stuff. Why then was he let go and we brought in a private sector company to do it at an increased cost to the taxpayer? So we're getting probably a similar or less level of service for an increased cost. That shouldn't be happening. We also need to look at our transportation services. In the valley, it's difficult to get around by bus. On Sunday, John and I rode downtown on the Sunday bus, very difficult to get along.
Wasn't that hard to get along?
Sorry, John, rebuttal.
Yeah, a quick one, not too much. Joseph, you said there's no new businesses in the industrial park in the valley. I beg to differ. Highwork Canada has just installed and grown their business twice the size. Mark Desjardins, it's a growing business. Regardless of new, it's growing. They expanded to twice their size. And I don't agree with Bob very often, but I will on the offer at Xstrata, we have a VERY program, which is called Voluntary Early Retirement Initiative. And that would be the reduction of staff based on early retirement. It's not layoffs, it's not cuts. It's if you're eligible to go, you can go. So in that retrospect, I do agree with Bob, which is a rare.
No rebuttals.
I just think that when you look at the issues that we're talking about, we're all getting down to, there has to be something done differently. We can't continue to do what we've been doing for the last 10 or 12 years and expect any changes. So one of the things I'm looking at in the industrial park is that currently and I know for a fact, we're trying to sell lots in our Valley East Industrial Park at 2 and 3 acres in size at $115,000 an acre. I think that if a business wants to buy a half-acre lot, we should be opening it up to them. The other thing is, I think when you're looking at the cost of the industrial park, I would like to recommend that we take the cost of the land and spread it out over 20 years so that businesses are not being hung up on that initial cost of getting set up. City will still get their money. Spread it out over 20 years so businesses have got time to concentrate on building their business. And I think we'll start to see the industrial park grow.
In talking to the business owners, they had a common theme. They all said the same thing. They all said that the services that they are supposed to receive in the industrial park, they are not receiving. They are receiving the basic services, which is basically water and sewer. Other than that, there's nothing else. Now, how can we attract business out there? And what kind of incentive can we give them? It goes back to what I had said. We can offer them a startup grant or something for them to get started. The city, as well, when they go out and look for businesses, they canvass them, they open the doors up, they offer them grants. Well, we can do the same thing when it comes to the industrial park. In rebuttal to the ombudsman, I think the previous council decided to let him go. But then that was a democratic process that they chose. The same thing with the new council. I would certainly put it to a vote if it came to again. Thank you.
Just one more comment on with regard to the current services and so on and what strategies to implement. We've heard it on a few mayoral debates and certainly through the candidates here about the possibility of municipal bond issue. It's one other way of looking at revenue stream into the city without relying on the backs of the taxpayer. I think we also have to look at the possibility of public-private partnerships. Highway 407 was not a great example of a public-private partnership. The public assumed all risk. The private sector got all the profit, and now it's run by a company in Spain. But we are smarter now. We can do better now. We can negotiate a much better private-public partnership. We need to find other ways to fund, and we need to start fixing our infrastructure deficit. If we wait until our kids are paying the taxes to fix it, there'll only be holes left in the city of Sudbury.
Thank you. Okay, question number 3. What is the most important issue that you see in your ward? We'll start off with Mr. Berthelot.